Less than 3 days to go now. I don't know about you, but I can certainly remember as a child the eagerness with which I used to count down to Christmas. And I don't know, perhaps some of you still do. There was the Advent calendar, the impatient feeling and rattling of presents under the tree, and frequently telling my parents to the nearest hour, if not the nearest minute, how long there was to go until Christmas Day. Yes, eager longing for Christmas was certainly a central experience of Advent as a child for me. Very liturgically appropriate, you might say, given the Church's emphasis during this season on a yearning for the coming of Christ. But what exactly was it I was waiting for? It has to be admitted it was mostly the presents. The excitement of finding out what was hidden inside the wrapping paper, the fun of having new toys to play with. Of course, the liturgy of Advent has something rather different in mind. When we refer to Christ as the desire of the nations in today's antiphon, it's not because the nations are all looking forward to opening their Christmas presents on Sunday, though if you visited shopping centres in many parts of the world you might think so. But no, when we sing of Christ as the desire and the King of the nations, we're talking about something rather more fundamental. We're talking of the Son of God, who created the whole human race, and who alone can satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart. It has to be said, though, that this yearning is not always exactly obvious. Even among those of us who profess our faith in Christ, we don't come across that many people whose longing for the coming of Christ would compare favourably to a child's desire to open their Christmas presents. So what's going on? How can Christ be the desire of all the nations if people often don't even seem to notice? Well, I think there are several things we can think about here. The first is that, although it might sound like it should be obvious, we human beings are not very good at discerning the deepest longings of our heart. Immediate satisfaction is so often more attractive, even when we know it will not really make us happy. This is the problem of our sinful condition. And of course, it is just this condition from which we ask Jesus to come and save us as we sing, "Come and save the human race which you made from the earth." But we cannot turn to Christ for this help, the only remedy from sin, which would enable us to pursue what truly makes us happy, if we do not know him. In the words of St. Paul in his letter to the Romans, how are men to call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without a preacher? Our longing for Christ to come as King of all the nations, to be revealed as the one all peoples truly desire, must be translated into a zeal for sharing this good news. For we are called, as the Church, to continue through time the preaching of that truth which God revealed in his coming among us as a child, and which will be consummated when he returns in glory. The truth of his love for humanity and for all that he has created. But we must be careful not to divide the world too hermetically into those who have and have not heard the gospel, who long or do not long for the coming of Christ, the Christ of whom we sing today as the cornerstone making both one. For as we saw earlier, how many of us Christians could honestly and unequivocally profess our readiness and longing for the coming of Christ? To be sure, we should engage in the work of evangelization, but we must also allow ourselves to be evangelized, to grow in our faith and understanding of the mystery of God's love, and thus to appreciate more fully his power and his alone to make us truly happy. For in this way, like the child who comes to enjoy their Christmas presents all the more from the anticipation, we too are called in this time of waiting to grow in eagerness, so that we, along with all humanity, can truly make our own the urgent plea of the Church's prayer, "Come and save the human race."